All right, let's dive into one of history's most bizarre and frankly terrifying true stories. It's about a mysterious mania that gripped an entire town and forced hundreds of people to dance, literally to their deaths.
So, we're setting the scene in the city of Strasbourg, in what's now France. The year is 1518. You gotta picture it, a bustling medieval city full of life. Life is hard for sure, but it's normal. Until one day, it really, really wasn't.
And this is where it all kicks off. A woman, who we know from historical records as Frau Troffea, steps out of her house onto a narrow street, and she just starts to dance. But there's no music, no celebration. It's just this frantic, silent, and deeply unsettling performance. What started with just Frau Troffea would very quickly become a citywide nightmare, beginning with her own strange personal ordeal. I mean, just try to wrap your head around this. Frau Troffea danced for days, not because she wanted to, but like a prisoner inside her own body. Accounts from the time describe her feet getting bloody and swollen, her face a mask of pure agony. Yet she physically could not stop. And then the truly terrifying part began. Her strange affliction wasn't an isolated case. It started to spread, like a sickness. The speed of this thing was just insane. What starts with one woman dancing alone quickly becomes a public spectacle, then a small group. But within a single month, the streets of Strasbourg were filled with up to 400 people, all of them locked in the same horrifying, nonstop dance. And this fever, it didn't discriminate. It hit men, women, and even children from all walks of life. Entire families were caught up in it. Can you imagine the sheer terror of seeing your neighbor or even your own child just seized by this force, their body moving wildly against their will? With the whole city in a state of panic, the authorities knew they had to do something. But their solution, based on the medical ideas of the time, would turn out to be a totally catastrophic mistake. The logic they used is going to sound completely baffling to us now. The town leaders called in the local physicians, who diagnosed the whole thing not as a curse, but as a physical problem, an illness caused by hot blood. And their prescribed cure, you're not going to believe it, was more dancing. They thought the victims had to literally dance the fever out of their systems. They even built a stage and hired musicians to help them do it. Of course, this so-called cure did the exact opposite of what they intended. Adding music and a public stage just created this frenzied, almost festival-like atmosphere. It didn't heal anyone. It just encouraged more people to join in and pushed the original dancers way past the point of exhaustion.
The result was just grim. On some days, as many as 15 people died. The official cure was literally killing them. Dozens of people died from heart attacks, strokes, and just pure physical exhaustion.
The dancing eventually did stop after about a month, leaving behind a traumatized city and a profound mystery. For the 500 years since, historians and scientists have been trying to figure out what on earth could have caused this. The investigation pretty much boils down to two main possibilities. Was this a physical problem caused by some kind of poison? Or was it a psychological breakdown, a sickness of the mind that somehow became physically and fatally real? So let's look at the two leading theories. The first one is physical, ergo poisoning. This is a toxic mold that causes the spasms. The second is psychological, mass hysteria. This is an illness that's born from extreme stress and then spreads through social contact. And either one could, in theory, explain at least part of what happened. The ergot theory seems pretty compelling at first. This toxic mold, it grows on damp rye, which was a food staple back then, and it can cause severe, uncontrollable muscle spasms. But there are problems. Ergotism usually causes people to writhe in convulsions, not perform coordinated dancing. And it's really unlikely that 400 people would all get the exact right dose to produce the same effect. It doesn't quite add up. And that brings us to the other leading theory, mass hysteria. You have to remember, life in Strasbourg at that time was brutal. They were dealing with horrible famine and disease. The psychological stress was just unimaginable. So this theory suggests that in that state of extreme anxiety, people can become highly suggestible. Frau Troffea's dancing could have been the spark that triggered a physical release of all that shared distress, which then spread like a virus. The only problem, the sheer physical toll, dancing for days until you actually die, seems almost impossible for a purely mind-induced illness. So where does that leave us? After centuries of debate, we're still staring at one of history's most fascinating and, let's be honest, disturbing unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, even with all our modern knowledge of medicine and psychology, we can't say for certain what happened in 1518. The poison theory doesn't totally fit the symptoms, and the mass hysteria theory pushes the limits of what we think the mind is capable of doing to the body. Ultimately, the dancing plague remains this profound and deeply unsettling event. It's a stark reminder that there are forces, both inside and out, that can push human behavior into places that just defy any easy explanation.
And this leaves us with a final, chilling thought. The story of Strasbourg is more than just a historical curiosity. It's a terrifying glimpse into how fragile the boundary is between our conscious will and the hidden forces of our own minds. It really makes you wonder, under the right kind of pressure, what is the mind truly capable of?